do anything to protect her children. But how do you shield an innocent child from something you can't explain?
The month was August of 1977. My mum had recently divorced. She had 4 children that she was left to bring up on her own. Knocking seemed to be going round the wall, but more so up one side of the wall where the stairs was. And it was continuous knocking. It was quite frightening. It's mixed emotions, really, like this is disbelief, you know. You wanted to believe that something strange was going on, but in another sense you didn't. You didn't want to accept it because you'd never come across anything like this before.
Over the next few weeks, the Hodgson family felt that an eerie chaos was descending on their home in Enfield, North London. The case was attracting unwanted attention, and an ever-growing band of visitors were now reporting bizarre activity that seemed to occur on a daily basis.
I didn't really expect, I certainly didn't expect to find anything like we did find when we got there.
Furniture would be turned over, fires started.
I remember, because it struck me just above my right eye, was a Lego brick. It gave me a hell of a whack. I mean, I had a mark there for some days afterwards. It was just, it was frightening at the time. It really was.
There was a very strong atmosphere of despair to a certain extent.
When paranormal investigator Maurice Gross arrived on the scene, questions were being asked. What could explain the traumatic experiences affecting the family?
One of my jobs, of course, was to go there and try and explain to them, after I'd heard what type of phenomena were happening, that it was possibly poltergeist-type phenomena. It was obvious then. Janet seemed to be the centre.
As she came through the door, it was weird. Just things took off and started flying around the room.
It became the centre of me. I feel as events went on, and a lot of things were surrounded around me.
Janet then started to go into trance situations.
She was just really sort of thrashing around in, I don't know what it was just literally a fit.
We were worried that she might kill herself. We felt, terrible about it. She rushed across the room and smashed her head on the wall.
I was feeling like I was possessed.
After yet another bad night, a heavily sedated Janet was put to bed.
We called the doctor, and he gave her a shot of something to calm her down. She was that sedated, as the doctor admitted that she'd had enough to put her horse out.
Suddenly, there's an enormous explosion. We rushed up the stairs. Janet!
To find that, as sedated as she was in the corner of a room. This radio was up on top of like a chest of drawers, and she was asleep on top of it.
I felt like I wasn't in control of what was happening to me.
Over the next few weeks, Graham Morris took a number of images using a remote-controlled camera. The images appeared to show an 11-year-old Janet and her sister thrown from their beds night after night. But worse, the activity in the house seemed to become more extreme.
In many later years to come, which, when I see photographs, was very distressing for me to know that I'd actually been in that state and not known about it.
Fueled by the fears of the family and a natural instinct for answers, Morris Gross decided to attempt communication.
I believe you can talk. Say my name.
Let me hear you say my name again. Come on, let me hear you say my name.
I looked at John, I looked at Janet, I thought, it's crazy. And I thought the voice came from the ceiling or somewhere, you see. When I looked at Janet carefully, when it started to talk a little bit more, I noticed her lips were trembling very slightly. And I said to her, I challenged her, I said, Janet, that voice I think is coming from you.
It didn't feel like it was coming within me, it was more around me, behind me, as I felt. It was a rather strange feeling, but you felt like you were being used in some way.
Absolutely terrifying to hear a girl speak in an old man's gruff voice. He said, where are you in the room? And he said, on top of Janet.
I felt like I couldn't control the voice centering itself around me.
I don't quite remember who asked his name, but he did reply, my name's Bill. He was asked the question, how did you die?
I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage and I fell asleep and I died in a chair in a corner downstairs.
Now, we didn't know that. Nobody else knew it.
Is it possible that the spirit of a dead man called Bill had taken control of Janet?
It was like a force that just pulled me out of bed. And I was so terrified because I didn't know where I was going to land.
So working at the time for a bakery that turned into the road. I looked up and saw a young girl in the room, and she seemed to be floating around in the room. I felt so strange that I had all goose pimples on my arms. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
Then, in autumn 1978, to the relief of the family, the activity seemed to calm down for good, but only after Janet was sent to hospital for psychiatric tests.
And I just felt like an outcast of the family. Why me?
She received a full, clean bill of health. After the frightening events in Enfield ended, further research uncovered the death certificate of a man who had died in the Hodgson's house 14 years previously. His name was William Wilkins,
I died in a chair downstairs.
otherwise known as Bill.
He did reply, my name's Bill. This case convinced me 100% that there is something beyond the physical realm that we normally understand.
We can talk about hauntings and poltergeists and all the rest of it till the cows come home, but I have no idea what it was, but it sure happened. That's certain.
And I still dream about it on and off.
These teenage sisters believe they're haunted by a poltergeist.
I was going to ask the same question as I asked earlier. How many voices are there?
600.
600 the voices.
I know the joke.
How many really are there, Margaret?
I think so far we've had 10
Three.
sensible voices, but the rest of the names are absolute rubbish.
11-year-old Janet Hodgson appears to be the focus of many of the strange happenings in Green Street. But they also affect her 14-year-old sister, Margaret, and their younger brother, Billy. One of the first manifestations was when Lego bricks began to fly at high speed around the living room.
How does it feel to be haunted by a poltergeist?
It's not haunted. Shut up.
Why isn't it haunted?
I don't know.
Does it frighten you, the things that happen here?
Oh, well, it did first, but now I've got more used to it. And you learn to accept the things that happen.
It slung covered at Mum. It ate Mum. Slung a bookshelf at Margaret.
Have you tried telling it to go away?
Yes,
Yeah,
many
no
times.
answer, nothing.
And what does it reply?
No, it won't. It'll stay another 6-7 years.
The local police could find no explanation for the knocking either. They were even more baffled when two of their beat constables reported seeing an armchair levitate across the Hodgsons' living room.
It came off the floor, or nearly a half-inch, I should say, and I saw it slide off to the right, about 3.5 to 4 feet before it came to rest. I checked to see whether or not it could possibly have slid along the floor. I placed a marble on the floor to see whether or not the marble would go in the same direction as the chair did, and it didn't roll at all. I checked for wires under the cushion of the chair, and I could find no explanation at all.
Maurice Gross is an electronics engineer and an investigator for the Society for Psychical Research.
Over here was Janet, and over here, in this bed here, was Margaret.
It was in the same bedroom a month later, with all the family present, that Maurice Gross first challenged the poltergeist to talk.
And this was actually the result. You'll hear here the whistling first of all, and then the barking. And here is this noise. The barking here is quite extraordinary, actually.
We got a dog in here.
I then said to it, you can whistle. I then, as I said on the tape here, I then said to it, if you can whistle and bark and groan, then you can talk. And I asked it to actually say my name.
Well, just a minute. Right, we'll try again. I want you to call out my name, my complete name, Maurice Gross. See if you can do that. Very good. Let me hear you say my name again. Come on, let me hear you say my name. Come on, my name's Maurice. Let me hear you say it. Maurice.
Now that was the first time we heard the voice, and since then we've been hearing it again and again, and it's been getting louder and louder.
What about the voices? When did the voices start?
December the 12th.
December the 12th?
Yes.
And how did they start?
Well, one night Mr. Grove was talking about it about 8:30. He said, all we need now is the voices to talk. And that night I went to bed. Can't remember exactly what happened. And
What's that knocking?
yeah,
Can hear it now. Was doing that yesterday morning, and Peggy was on her own. So she come in to us, because it wasn't her. She come in. We sat together and we heard it. And I counted down my knocks, and there was 14 altogether. And it's doing it again now.
That was 3 knocks just now.
Yes, it goes in 3s and 2s.
how we first got contacted, this was when Mr. Rose said, if there's anyone there, knock twice for yes, and if not, one for no.
I wonder if we did that now, whether it would answer. Is anybody there? Is anybody there? Nothing. No.
It doesn't always do it to order.
No, it doesn't. It goes in spasms. Like we're talking now. It may not now, after you've said that, but it won't do it when you want it to, straight away, you know.
What about the voices? They sometimes say things and make answers. Is that the voice now?
Yeah.
Is anybody there? How many voices are there?
Dirty Dick, Andrew Garner, and Stuart Thurton.
Dirty Dick, Andrew Gardner, and Stuart.
Thurton.
Oh, has he ever spelt that for you?
No.
Mr. Ghost asked him, but something distracted Mr. Ghost last night when he asked. That was some time ago.
And
Sorry,
what do you
forgot.
think these are? Are they people or are they just voices?
Could be spirits, oh, I don't know.
I believe it's a
Ghosts
form
or
of a
something.
spirit speaking for us somehow. No. We don't get this at school, these voices are. Because I believe when we're all separate, it's not so strong.
Just when you come near each other?
Yeah, like here, or our aunts, we're all up there together, or in Peggy's next door.
And Janet's, your voice is stronger, isn't it? It seems to be the strongest.
Yeah.
When you hear the voice and it comes out, where does it come from? Here, your throat.
No.
Where do you feel it comes
Back
from?
of the neck.
Back of the neck.
And so it must be as if it's somebody else speaking then, when you hear
Yeah,
it.
behind us.
And do you get the feeling when you hear the voice that there is a person there?
Yes.
Yeah. And do they tell you much about themselves?
Not really, no.
They just tend to growl and...
Play around and sort of joke and be silly. You know.
I wonder, do you think there's anyone there just now?
Yeah, I do.
Who's that?
What?
Who's that, Janet?
Pardon? Stuart Thurton.
Stuart Certain, and he's one of the voices.
Yeah.
Why do you think he comes and speaks through you?
To annoy us.
Does he ever say anything nice?
Well, don't know really.
Shall we
Says-
try and speak to him? No. We'll see if he'll speak to us.
Yeah.
Is anybody there?
No.
Who's there?
Doctor
Doctor Who?
Goose chasers here.
Mr. Gross, a lot of people, hearing these voices produced by the children, will simply say that they are very good ventriloquists and that this is all a hoax. How would you react to that?
Certainly not. They're certainly not very good ventriloquists. We have had tests on them to see whether they can ventriloquize. They can't. To keep up this particular type of voice for any length of time without damage to the vocal cords is absolutely impossible. I mean, there must be some hoarseness attached to it. But don't forget, these children don't do this for a couple of minutes or so. They do it for lengths of periods up to 3 hours, and without any hoarseness or sore throats whatsoever. Well, perhaps, Guy, perhaps you've got something to say to them.
Yeah.
I'd like to know how you make this noise without bashing Janet's vocal cords to pieces. If I do it for half a minute, I get a sore throat. Joe?
Guy Lyon Playfair is an author of books on the paranormal, with experience of poltergeist cases in Europe and Brazil.
How do you do it, mate?
God, Vicky, hours.
Don't you ever get a sore throat, Janet?
No.
Sure.
Yeah.
You never get pain in the back of the neck or something?
No. Oh, what do you mean? I'm sorry, I'm not with you. What? I feel,
Oh, you with me now? With me?
Sensation in the back of the neck. Yeah.
Well, tell us about that.
I don't know how to
No, tell me
explain
about that. You get it? Do you get it now? It's buzzing in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Do you feel it vibrating as if it was sort of?
No, like someone.
Someone
Got
what?
their hand on the back of my neck like that.
Poltergeists seem to thrive on an atmosphere of tension that is partly sexual. The fact that most of the focuses are adolescents seems to contribute to the mischievous nature of the effects, leading some to suggest that the kids are faking or enjoying a laugh at the expense of the investigators. But to create all the bizarre effects that went on in this house either involves a gigantic conspiracy with the neighbours or a disruption in our laws of mind and matter.